Hello and welcome to the new episode of We Talk Talent Series Season 5, the show where we bring you insightful conversations with the top HR leaders shaping the future of talent management. And today we have a very special guest with us, Induja Rajendran, Head of Talent Acquisition, APAC, Postman. Induja, welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you. Pleasure's all mine, Anmol. It's good to be here.
So before we dive into the discussion, I would like to give a brief introduction of today's speaker to our viewers. Induja Rajendran is a talent acquisition leader with 13 years in HR and a career in scaling technology and products by building both Indian and global talent. She currently leads the talent acquisition for Postman India, and before this, she played a pivotal role in Freshworks' IPO journey, helping Freshworks scale from 700 to 3,500 headcounts. And she also spent 8 years at Amazon, leading their talent acquisition for Kindle India business and for India and Singapore both. So starting with my first question, Induja, the workplace has gone through a lot of changes over the past couple of years, as you know. How is your industry tackling the changes? If you could share a brief overview with us.
Right. Interesting, right? So what are the key challenges that I'm going to speak from my organization's standpoint, right? My experience standpoint, obviously. So one of the key challenges that my org faced during the last couple of years is ability to adapt going remote, right? So our decision was to go fully remote, which meant that wherever we found the world-class engineers, right? We would just go through and hire them. It didn't matter if they were in Antarctica also, for on a lighter note, right? So this strategy got us to spread over 22 countries. And there were some side effects that obviously came alongside being distributed global organization, right? One of that was the fact that people started working in silos. And there was also a lessened sense of belonging because they were all they were distributed and all of that, so globally distributed. So I'll start off with like a fun example that I came across. Somebody was sharing this with me. Right?
Sure.
There was this one engineer who was super motivated, super innovative and all of that, puts in a lot of effort in building new features, right? And he's always thinking about what is best for the organization and all of that. Right? Top tier. He's been with the organization for some time. He knows what works, what doesn't. Pretty top tier, right? Suddenly, one of the BU leaders, one of the senior leaders just walks across the organization. After a long time, he decided to meet in the office. And then he goes excitedly to him. He's like, hey, what are you doing about that? He goes excitedly to him and then says that, hey, by the way, guess what? I'm building this this particular part of a feature. And then that leader is a little shocked. He's like, hey, but why are you building this when there is a need? When your team is working on something else, when there is a need for you to ship high priority features right now, right? Which is required, which is the business hour, which is the need of the business hour, right? And then the employee obviously was a little upset, right? He just put in multiple sleepless nights into making this happen. He's just a little upset about what's going on and all of that. Of course, followed up with a lot of conversations. We had to get involved and we had to tell him that, hey, it's okay. We're not going to be taking this forward to like the next subsequent cycles of software development, but it's okay. We will revisit it and all of that, right? So there are multiple lessons that we learned from this example. Obviously, when I mean challenges, it's not just through this example. We ran multiple pulse surveys. We got in signals from different business unit leaders. We got in signals from HR VPs, talent acquisition, with multiple cohorts of people we ran surveys with. So, but the team largely relied on the same example, right? Similar. I could tell you like 3 points in which this broke, right? One of it was the fact that this employee started working in silos, wherein he kind of didn't know what the rest of the organization was building, what was business critical, what was not business critical, right? Therefore, we saw the need to improve the overall organizational alignment to the larger vision and mission, right? The next is the manager could have easily caught this, right? An employee has been working on something for about over a month, and for some reason the manager is not able to catch this. Right? Being able to catch this, right? So that's in some sense an ability to it's a special skill itself, right? When you go remote, there is a need to change your management style, right? So there was a need for manager development as well. And third is communication, where we had to, where when it's a lot easier when you're working as a smaller group of people working together, right? Like especially under the same group, you just somewhere people just learn from water cooler conversations or from cohort of very well motivated people talk to your talent, right? But in this case, when everybody's like sitting in their house desk, it just gets a little hard. In the absence of that, there is a need for us to communicate and there is a need for us to over communicate, right? In this case. So in order to address the first challenge of alignment, one of the things that we did was in all hands, we started overstating our vision and mission, right? We started our all hands with the vision and mission, and then we drilled it down to our business goals and then product goals, and then trimmed it down to the organization goals and the team's goals, right? And we started off with reiterating our mission and vision and what our goals are, team goals are, org goals are from the hiring process itself. We started educating them right from the beginning itself. Ours being a lot more tech API-driven organization, it was important for us to kind of dumb it down, what our mission means and what it looks like for us as well, right? The second is we came up with objective OKRs and defined it to all the employees to know what exactly needs to be, what are the goals, what are our goals, team goals, and therefore how can you contribute to the vision and mission directly? And who are playing supporting roles, who are playing direct goals and all of that, right? So then what we did was we defined the top fives. We came up with a dashboard which was visible at an org level, right? And every employee had to, at some sense, write the top 5 things that they're working on for this month. Thereby, our leaders will have visibility into what they're working on, not just at the manager level. And if there is a need for course correction, that can be done. And also, since this is an open dashboard, the employees, when they're working on their top 5s itself, they see what are the other top 5s and the rest of the organization is working on. And therefore, they can reiterate in case if there is a duplication of effort or there's a redundancy, they would know, they would kind of understand where the organization, majority of the organization is working. If they somewhere see that they are doing something in silos, they can course correct, right? So this worked really well for us. The second was when I spoke about manager development, right? Like remote management is not for all, unfortunately. There could be great managers. Like in this case, this manager is known to be an extremely empathetic leader, extremely empathetic manager who puts his team first and all of that. He's a great manager. But it's just that remote management is a skill. There needs to be some amount of time that's invested in the screen to be able to build a relationship via a screen and all of that, right? Yeah. So to support some of the new managers into remote management, one of the things that we did was we started the continuous feedback mechanism, right? Where we mandated managers to record feedback on the tool every 3 months, where we mandated the employees and the managers to have one-on-one conversations on a weekly basis. And at the end of every 3 months, we would do a pulse survey to kind of see how the results would turn out. So that's not right. And overall, to bring in communication, to bring in better communication, which is the third challenge that we had, we came up with some amount of org structuring where there was a HR that was partnered with large business, and there's a talent acquisition partner also partnered with large business units. Of course, this does not mean this person will work only with this business, but will be the point of contact for that business, right? Who in turn will have multiple people working with them. These partners, in turn, follow through the alignment across the rest of the business units, right? They will follow through the communication in the form of reports, weekly call-outs, what's going well, what's not going well, identify what are the current actions from the minutes of meeting that we're capturing. And then the next meeting, they start off by actioning on what needs to have been completed during the weekly time limit. Right. So some amount of project management which was required, which is what has been driven by the talent acquisition partners to bring org level alignment. And lastly, one of the other things that we decided was the complete remote is not working for us. And with the changes, COVID going away and all of that, it also made sense for us to get into a hybrid model. So we did ask the employees to come back to office on particular days of the week. So these were some of the that worked for us.
That's absolutely good to hear, Induja. So, according to you and your industry demands, what type of skill shortage do you think is causing this talent war?
Right. Unfortunately, my answer is going to be pretty cliched as well, right? But I can't come up with anything better. I think AI continues to be one of the most changing or most in demand skill, and therefore contributing to the talent pool, right? One of the primary reason being the rapid advancement in technology, right? There's a need for AI. The need for AI is just too much, right? People are almost having what I call, what the Gen Z calls FOMO, right? Which basically means fear of missing out.
Yes.
They are, everybody is investing in it right now, starting from healthcare, finance, automotive. Suddenly everybody wants it, right? All industries. And obviously the supply is not equipped for the demand because this was way too rapid, right? And but the good thing here is not all industries need the same amount of expertise as much as the other, right? Some of them may want an extremely advanced degree with advanced training with respect to AI concepts, right? Some of them might just need mediocre, and some of them might need just basic. For example, if you're developing a chatbot, right? A very strong engineer who can develop a chatbot on its by himself or herself if they can apply themselves pretty well, right? There's no need for them to be specifically trained. But if it's the same chatbot that needs a lot of AI models, then we need a very well-trained engineer, right? So the demand is not particularly the same. We can look at talent mobility also fill this gap. That's number one. Number two, AI is generally a very multidisciplinary field, right? Which means that it's a very diverse skill set. When you say AI, it means a bunch of things, right? It could mean data science, it could be machine learning, it could be deep learning, it could be computer vision, it could be NLP, anything more, right? So finding the individuals with the right combination of skills for the required task that is required for the organization itself is a learning for both the hiring managers and the recruiting talent, right? Incorrect. The wrong combination of candidates apply to the wrong ones, right? So that's another challenge. Third challenge is pretty much what everybody knows, right? AI is not localized demand. It's a global competition, right? It's not limited to a single country. So there are organizations, especially your FANGs, that are willing to invest lots of money and willing to invest visa around it and all of that, right? Sponsor employees with respect to AI talent. Therefore, it makes it a lot more harder for us to hire, right? So some of the things that has worked for Postman specifically is we've started posting on groups, started partnering with universities, sponsoring AI research, and we've started offering AI training programs to upskill our existing employees. So these are some of the things that has typically worked.
How are your employee engagement strategies, especially when we talk about the remote and hybrid work setup?
Right. So I think, let me think, right? I think the primary thing, the primary goal for us, right? The primary challenge when you're talking about your engagement strategies, one of the things that you need to see is what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay? So one of the key problems with respect to remote and hybrid work setup is the ability to earn trust, right? And it's very important. Trust is very important for you to operate as a successful team, and multiple teams makes a business unit, multiple business unit makes an organization, right? So for you to be successful, it's very important for us to be able to build that trust within each other, which is the hardest thing to do in remote setup. So let me give you a fun example, how we cracked it, how we're trying to crack this at least, right? My super boss, called us to San Francisco for an offsite, right? So we are talking about for almost like 12, 13 people who are his direct reports and who are his direct reports -1, right? He also had his direct manager, and then he also had the finance controller, everybody. This was basically an offsite. So general offsite, which is there listening to him tell us what is going to be the organization's mission, vision, what's going to be our next year's plan and all of that, right? Suddenly in front of everyone, he's like, okay, folks, give me feedback. And all of us, like 12, 14 of us are like, what's going on, right? Very open. He's like, give me feedback. And then some of us were obviously apprehensive at some sense initially, but obviously the environment, he provided us with the safe space to be able to communicate. So about 12 to 14 of us gave feedback to our manager in front of his manager, in front of the finance control, in front of a bunch of the management team, right? Yeah. That's the culture that we are trying to promote top down, right? Starting the executives first, right? To be able to promote open communication in the sense that it's important for people to give upward feedback to be able to earn trust. Right? Unless you know that there is a problem, it's very hard for managers to work on it, right? Unless you know it's just two peers. Unless the peer knows that, hey, there's a problem with the way you're working, there's no way this peer can actually work on meeting their requirements. So that's a culture that we're promoting, right? The second challenge that we came across a lot during the remote and hybrid setup was onboarding. When we hired new employees, it was very difficult for us to like assimilate them to our culture. It was very difficult for us to get them to do things that works for our organization, right? So one of the things that we did was we came up with this exhaustive onboarding document where we would explain in length about what are the goals, how does the team operate, what are the cheat codes, what are the things, most importantly, what are the things that failure looks like, how does failure look like, right? Defining what failure looks like to ensure that that person doesn't go there, right? The next thing that we did is to identify one person to pair the new employee with a person that we call as a buddy mechanism, who will just help them through this process, right? They would not be a direct correlation of a mentor or a manager. They will just take like simple questions. They will just give them a safe space for them to act as their sounding board of their thoughts and their decision. It's typically just to make their onboarding process a little seamless. Then we also started giving feedback at a very early on stage. We started giving feedback during the interview itself. Our hiring managers would give feedback during the interview itself, and we'll tell them that, hey, these are the coaching areas that we plan to invest in you, right? And therefore we'll be working alongside with you on some of these. So that's that. The fourth one is overall collaboration, which basically meant that we mandated some of the India teams to work out of the office for 1 week every 6 weeks, right? And global teams to come and meet for a week or two every 6 months, right? We allocated some amount of budget towards that. So that was very important for us to bring in some amount of collaboration. And last but not the least, given how globally distributed we are, there was a need for us to do like morning calls and evening calls. In order to mitigate some of that, we moved into a more async mode of communication where we started writing documents, async documents. It just could be all raw. It didn't have to be all prim and proper documentation, just raw, wherever you just key in your thoughts and just send out.
That's good. These are some wonderful initiatives that you've taken at your organization. So, Induja, you have been at the forefront of human resources for quite a long time now. And so with your extensive experience, can you share some of the most prominent challenges that you face in TA space? And what are your strategies to overcome them?
Okay, let's see. If you asked me this a couple of years ago, I would have said hiring Kubernetes or any other niche skill that was growing in demand back then, right? But I think over the years, one of the hardest things that talent acquisition partner or a leader or a talent acquisition associate will have to do is to find the talent that works backward from the end customer, right? India historically has been a very service-oriented technology talent kind of organization, right? So only in the last decade or so, we've moved into the product space has picked up, and the product industries are hiring some great minds, right? It's only the last couple of years or something where the SaaS industry and the new startups are getting coaching from their mentors and talent. The only last couple of years, there's some bloom in startups as well, right? So most often than not, working backwards from customer is often looked at as a business or a product only trait, right? A lot of employees, a lot of other employees in the other teams do what's right for their team or timeline or their business, right? I'll give you an example. If like there was one employee, right? Not my current organization, my previous organization, who hired a great engineer because he was the A player, because he was really good. He came with great credentials, education credentials, had amazing work experience and all of that, and he hired him. But what really is important is not that, right? But this person was this employee, this candidate was not exactly rightly motivated, right? And he actually the TA associate saw it, but in some sense he just believed that, hey, if you find a great candidate, then the business is going to be successful. And most often than not, that's not what happened, right? The employee came in and then he was a great player. He was constantly always upset about not getting enough infrastructure, not getting enough support, not getting enough resources, versus an employee who's probably one level below him, who's super highly motivated, rightly motivated, just wants to get done of what's right for the organization, right? Put in a lot of extra hard work, didn't have as much skills as this person did, right? But still the productivity of this person was a lot more higher, right? So sometimes it's very essential for us to bring in that change in perspective, right? To look at it from end customers' standpoint of what is the right thing to do. Obviously, in this case, the former employee who was a great A player didn't really work out well for the business versus somebody who's pretty average, was very highly motivated, rightly motivated, did all the right things, right? So it's essential to do some shots, to be okay with trading off some short-term failures for long-term wins specifically, right? And sometimes doing the right thing for the customer could also mean telling them that what they're doing is wrong, right? A lot of times upward feedback and transparent feedback isn't very prominent, right? Especially in a market like India, where a good majority of Indian talent is coming from service industry, for the most part, right? Culturally also lacks the confidence to be able to be transparent with upward feedback in comparison with the US or a UK market, right? But when you're when you're running a global organization, obviously you're benchmarking all the talent equally, right? Therefore, for whatever reasons, there is a need for the India talent to kind of upskill themselves. And there is a need for the challenge for the talent acquisition team is to find the talent that is rightly motivated and who looks at it from an end customer standpoint, right? And doing the right thing, who's very confident about giving upward feedback, right? And along with this, we also need someone who's who can self-onboard themselves, who can deal with ambiguity, who can get their hands dirty and to actually figure things out and figure out how to work around it, right? So that's been the biggest challenge. While some of the skills are still coachable, some of the behavioral and cultural and soft skills are the hardest in the current market for us to find, right? These are usually traits that are often found in founding members of, look at like small organizations, right? That's some of the things that we have been doing. We always look at a combination of someone who's a founding engineer in a small startup, and then a combination of someone who's worked in like a scaled organization. A combination has worked for us, and identifying this talent is slightly difficult compared to the rest of them. So we do like a little bit of meetups, and then we have like targeted searches, and then we run scripts, and then we have a lot of talks to identify this. And there's a lot of long-term engagement with this type of talent, right? Where you're looking at somebody who comes with tech talent, who comes in with some amount of entrepreneurship experience, even if they have not been entrepreneurs in specific cases, right? That's, I think, is a typical challenge. If you ask me right now, I think that's the hardest problem to solve for us.
Absolutely. These are important points to consider that you shared right now. And thank you so much, Induja, for sharing your valuable perspective with us today. And it's been a pleasure having you on this show. And for our viewers, let's continue to learn and grow together. And do not forget to Tune into the next episode of We Talk Talent series. Have a fantastic day ahead. Thank you so much.